of NATO's constitution, Article 5. Article 5 says that if one member is attacked, it means everybody's attacked. And this is what one of Ukraine's top demands are. Hand over our territory back to us. Russia is saying no. And the West is not pursuing that. All the West is saying is that stop fighting. Stop. The Americans want something and the Ukrainians want something else. What the Ukrainians want is an end to the war, number one. Number two, they want a return of 25% of Ukraine that Russia has taken away. Jai Hind friends, I'm Major Gaurav Arya and you're watching the CHANAKYA Dialogues English. Like this video, subscribe to our channel and don't forget to press the bell icon. You know, yesterday there was this big news that Sweden had decided to finally join NATO after a lot of dilly-dallying for a lot of time. I mean, it's been over a decade since I've been hearing that Sweden wants to join NATO, but it's not coming through somehow. I don't know what is the problem, but recently, after the Russians invaded Ukraine, suddenly there was this boost, within Sweden to get this application of joining the NATO up and going, and finally, Sweden has decided it will join NATO. Now, I'm going to explain on the map why it is so. Why is Sweden afraid? Why is Sweden scared? So, it says Sweden officially joins NATO as the 32nd member of the Transatlantic Military Alliance. Now, I have my notes here, ladies and gentlemen. And ending decades of post-World War II neutrality. Sweden, Switzerland were all neutral countries during the Second World War. You're aware that the Second World War finished in 1945 with Hitler's suicide, surrender of Japan, etc., etc. Now, this here is Russia. And they say that Russia's largest city to the west is St. Petersburg. That is what the Russians say. Largest city to the west, the Russian west, is St. Petersburg. And if you look at the other direction, the major port city, I mean, of course, there are a lot of cities here also, towns and cities here, but they say that the major city towards the east is Vladivostok. Vladivostok is a very famous port and it is coveted by China also. In fact, 2 years back, China laid claims on Vladivostok, which had upset the Russians. They said the Chinese, as usual, are talking nonsense. Now, look here, ladies and gentlemen, this is Western Europe and this is Sweden. And here is Norway and Finland. And of course, this whole bunch of these countries, Germany, France, England, Spain, etc. Downstairs with Ireland being here now. How close is Russia to Sweden? How close is it? I'll tell you what has happened. Russia has already said that it covets Finland. It has already made those sounds saying that, Finland should be a part of the Russian Federation. Nothing has come out officially, but there is a lot of talk in Russian media, Russian social media, pro-military, nationalistic bloggers. They've all been talking about Finland being part of Russia now. This surely scares the Finnish people because Russia is this huge, huge power. And all this, whether you call it Volga Federal District or Northwestern Federal District, this is how the map has been segregated. The fact of the matter is, this entire thing from here, all right? This entire thing from here, this whole thing is nothing but Russia. This whole thing is nothing but Russia, all throughout, till here. This is Russia. So, and this is Murmansk here and this is St. Petersburg here. So, St. Petersburg is the biggest Russian city towards Russia's west. And how far is St. Petersburg from Sweden? Not very far. 1,000, 1,200, 1,500 kilometers. It's right there. And this is why Sweden is scared. And how far is Sweden actually from Ukraine? Again, not very far, ladies and gentlemen. Ukraine is right here. And this entire area, you see, this is Ukraine. And this entire 25% of Ukraine, this area is now Russian territory. Controlled by the Russians, and the West is not asking the Russians to hand it back to Ukraine. And this is what one of Ukraine's top demands are. Hand over our territory back to us. Russia is saying no. And the West is not pursuing that. All the West is saying is that stop fighting, stop the effect the ceasefire immediately. And we want a stop to hostilities. While they want to cause damage to the Russians, but their war plans are not going exactly as they had thought they would, in spite of pumping in billions of dollars and arms and weapons into Ukraine. Zelensky has not been able to pull it off as he had promised. Now, the reason why Sweden is doing it is Article 5 of NATO's treaty obliges members to come to the aid of an ally under threat. Now, this grants Sweden the collective security guarantee it sought after Russia's invaded Ukraine. So, Russia, see, this is Russia, all right? Russia invades Ukraine. When Russia invades Ukraine, Now, Belarus is a Russian partner, very close to the Russians. In fact, the Russians had put in nuclear missiles in Belarus. All right. Now, look at it from Sweden's point of view. Sweden is a classical Western Europe country, classically Western Europe. And there is a huge, difference in the way of thinking between Eastern Europe and Western Europe, because much of Eastern Europe at one point in time was under the Soviet influence. Much of it. And they still maintain those links with quote unquote Mother Russia. Now, when Russia enters Ukraine, takes away 25% of territory, Sweden is afraid. And Sweden is saying that, this entire thing about neutrality that we had been able to continue since the Second World War, 1945 onwards, now this no longer holds true. What if Russia decides? Russia is already threatening Finland. Russia, for all practical purposes, is today threatening Finland. And after Finland, it's a small hop here, and this is Sweden. What will happen to Sweden? Think about it. But if Sweden actually joins NATO, then they are saying that according to Article 5 of NATO's constitution, Article 5 says that if one member is attacked, it means everybody is attacked. So tomorrow, if Sweden is part of NATO formally and Russia attacks Sweden, then it will have deemed to have attacked the United States of America. It's frightening, isn't it? So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope I've been able to explain to you sufficiently that Article 5 of NATO says one guy is attacked or one country is attacked, everybody is attacked. This is exactly why Ukraine. Why is this war happening with Russia? Why did Russia attack? It is exactly because of this reason. Ukraine was never a part of NATO. Ukraine is not part of NATO even today. Ukraine wanted to join NATO. Had Ukraine joined NATO, what would have happened? The NATO people would have put their missiles and everything here. There would have been warships here, right? There would have been submarines here. And this would have been right under, Russian territory, right at Russia's throat. Russia never wanted that. And this was also a violation of the understanding that the USSR had with, or Russia had with, NATO at that point in time. That, you don't have the USSR threat any longer. Please do not expand. Please do not threaten Russia. They did not understand. They kept on pushing. Ukraine kept on pushing for a NATO membership, and it resulted in this war where 25% of that country is gone and taken over by the Russians, and the Russian army is saying we'll take over the rest of Ukraine also. It has also threatened the West with nuclear war. Should the West physically put troops on the ground? So they're saying if NATO puts troops on the ground, then Russia will take it as the final okay to go absolutely nuclear. So nobody wants to mess with Russia at this moment because Russia and China are extremely close. This is not to say that China will get into the war. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that a lot of economic benefits go from China to Russia and vice versa. Russia buys a lot of goods from China. China buys a lot of Russian oil. And they have this lovely relationship going on, which has mitigated to quite a large extent the economic blockade of Russia, which the West has put in place after Russia invaded Ukraine. Now, so Biden is expected to use the Sweden's membership as a leverage to urge Republicans to approve military assistance to Ukraine with the ultimate goal of Ukraine joining NATO. Now, this is unlikely to happen. I think Biden is pulling a fast one on Congress. Now, Biden says, I'm going to use Sweden's example. I have not understood the logic. I've studied this in detail, and I have not understood the logic. How can Sweden joining NATO be a leverage for Biden to use for a future membership of Ukraine to NATO, thereby giving funds to you? It doesn't make sense. This entire spectrum is nonsense, what Biden is thinking about. I mean, Sweden is one country. They decide to join NATO. NATO says yes. It is between Sweden and NATO. And Russia does not have a point of view in this because Russia says, we have nothing to do with Sweden. We don't want Sweden. In fact, Russia says we don't even want Ukraine, but Ukraine decides to go to NATO. Then it's a problem for us. Sweden going to NATO is not a problem for Russia. But Ukraine going to NATO is a problem for Russia. So Russia invades. Now, Biden, as I said, he's expected to use Sweden's membership as a leverage to urge Republicans to approve military assistance to Ukraine with the ultimate goal of Ukraine joining NATO. How is that going to happen? How is that? Today, I think the Americans want something and the Ukrainians want something else. What the Ukrainians want is an end to the war. Number one. Number two, they want a return of 25% of Ukraine that Russia has taken away. Today, I don't think the Ukrainians are looking at NATO membership right now. I mean, if there is NATO membership, and let us say NATO membership is given, then Article 5 will be invoked by Zelensky immediately. Immediately. And what does Article 5 say? And I'm saying that, okay, let's look at this scenario, ladies and gentlemen. Why aren't the Western countries or NATO members giving full NATO membership to Ukraine right now as we speak? Why? I just want to know, if this is between Ukraine and NATO, and if Ukraine is a sovereign country, it might be at war, but Ukraine is a sovereign country. If Ukraine wants to get inside NATO or become a NATO member, and NATO says it's fine for Ukraine to become a member, what is stopping both these people? They can easily do so. Why aren't they doing it? They aren't doing it because NATO, which is pretty much the United States of America, Canada, etc., and also this entire bloc, right? NATO, this entire bloc. If Ukraine joins NATO, then everybody has to go to war against Russia. Everybody goes to war against Russia. That in itself is a problem. And now we'll come to China, which is also another major factor here. So see, tensions between China and Philippines, they have flared. We've already covered it before. But let me tell you, China and Philippines, this is Philippines here, and this is China, and tensions are flaring up. And on 5th of March, 3 days back, the Chinese Coast Guard actually fired water cannons on a Filipino vessel and damaged it and injured 4 people. And they're talking about Israeli missiles. So I'll explain a little bit of that also. You see, they're saying that from April 22nd to May 8th, Balikatan 2024. This is an annual military exercise in which the United States and Philippines in the central Luzon region, they will exercise. So where is Luzon? Ladies and gentlemen, this is Manila. Here is the capital of Philippines, just up north from Manila. This is the Luzon area. If memory serves right, this is the Luzon area. And this is where the Americans and the Filipino forces will do their exercises. They'll do it on land, they'll do it around the sea, they'll do it on air. And why is that scary for China? Right? Because what they are saying is that they are going to put surface-to-air Python and Derby missiles, and this entire Israeli-made missile defense system called, Spider is surface-to-air Python and Derby, also called Spider. So this is what they are activating there, and they're saying in case of a Chinese invasion, you have the Indian BrahMos. You're aware that India has supplied BrahMos to the Philippines. You're also aware that the Spider system will take care of any aircraft or missile that China decides to fire on the Philippines. Philippines is taking this threat by China extremely seriously. And this is something that President Marcos Jr., he has said. Now, he has been urging China to start a hotline between Beijing and Manila. There should be a hotline in case anything goes wrong. Top leaders can speak to each other and stop this. But of course, what China focuses on is brinksmanship, ladies and gentlemen. What China is doing is it will keep on pushing and creating an environment of terror. That is what China does. So China will keep on pushing. And here is Philippines. Philippines is very small geographically in front of China. But they'll keep on pushing, aggressive maneuvers in the seas. Trying to attack, trying to nudge your vessel with their vessel in the sea and trying to overpower you somehow. This is what China does. All the while, Philippines is getting jittery and Philippines is telling Beijing, let's have a hotline, let's discuss things out. China is dilly-dallying, China is delaying. But here is a statement which Marcos Jr. has given. He's saying our sovereignty is sacred, we will not compromise it in any way. Right? So ladies and gentlemen, this is all I have for you in today's the Chanakya dialogues. I'll just repeat, Sweden joining NATO, Russia taking over 25% of Ukraine, and why this is leaving everybody very, very jittery. And here, Philippines, in the Luzon area, north of Philippines, inside Philippines, Americans and the Filipinos. I guess the American Special Forces will be there. The Navy is going to be there. The Air Force is going to be there. A detachment of US Army is going to be there. Everybody's going to be there, and they're going to advise the Filipinos, advise them, and also put in place Spider, air defense systems inside Philippines for a possible Chinese invasion. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll come to the question and answers. The first question is, good day, Major. My name is Yatish. Hello, Yatish ji. Good day to you. And my question is, do you think Biden is being controlled by someone else, probably Obama, because he seems to be in some sort of drug and seems to be controlled by someone else giving him instructions? Yes. He was Obama's number 2. Yes, this is what a lot of people in the US say. They say that the presidency is actually being run by Obama and Biden is just the rubber stamp. And, none of his policies and his ideas, and he doesn't know which year it is and who's the president. He sometimes says President Kamala Harris in speeches. What do you think? I don't know. I guess I think Obama is giving him advice because a lot of Americans seem to think that Obama is giving him advice. And a lot of Republicans have said this very openly about the Democrats that, Obama could not have run for the 3rd term because the US Constitution prohibits it. You can only be a president twice, right? Back to back. And, so ideally Obama should have been there according to the Democrats. But if he's not there, they need a convenient rubber stamp. This is what a lot of Republicans are saying. So I don't know which part of it is true. And then Dhaval Stampwala says that Joe Biden is not fit to be POTUS. Why does no one challenge his fitness in court? I think so. America is a third world country in this matter. I think mental fitness is something that people would want to challenge in court. He's forgetful, etc. But then Joe Biden is head back saying that he's not forgetful. And the other guy is not very young either. Let's talk about Donald Trump here. The age difference between them is just 4 years. Trump is 77, Biden is 81. So there isn't much to choose. It's not like Trump is 50 years old and he's absolutely young and running half a marathon every day. It's not like that. Trump is out of shape. Trump is 77. One guy is forgetful, Joe Biden. Yeah, he forgets his own name. He says President Kamala Harris. Yes. The other guy, while some of his policies I agree with, I'm talking about Trump, I agree with some of his policies, sometimes he behaves like a borderline lunatic. So I think in US politics, there isn't much to choose from. Hi friends, here is a message. Tomorrow, Saturday, 9th of March, I will be going live at 6 o'clock, both from the Chanakya Dialogues Hindi and English. And I would request you to please join at 6 o'clock tomorrow for my live. It's going to be you asking questions and me answering your questions for 1.5 hours straight. So welcome to the party. See you tomorrow at 6 o'clock at the Chanakya Dialogues Hindi and English. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching this video. If you like this video, subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to press the bell icon and don't forget to like this video. Jai Hind, Vande Mataram, Bharat Mata Ki Jai.